What is going on, guys? My name is Blazekiller, and today we are back with another video. In today's video, I will be bringing you guys episode 2 of the removed / unused content in Lumber Tycoon 2. This series is really interesting because it really highlights a lot of the features that Defaultio has never implemented to this game, or hasn't implemented yet, or has used as some sort of bouncing off point in features that he has thought about and has built bounced off of those to build even bigger and better features. So without further ado, let's get into the first, or I should say rather the 7th one. There's going to be a part 3 of this video as well, covering all 18 of these removed and unused features. Of course, there's more than that, but that's all we're covering in this series. Today we're going to bring you guys 6 more. So the 7th one we're going to talk about, we're going to start off with, it's called the region_test. So this region_test is a biome that only exists within the game archives. And this is going to be a common theme throughout all these items, is that features, I should say, that these are only going to exist within like the workspace, which is the almost the creative mode of Lumber Tycoon, which you can mess around with and whatnot on the PC version of this game. Or the game archives, which you can have access to if you look into the archives, but really only the creators, such as Defaultio, have access to them. So a lot of these are going to be within the archives because they're actually never implemented straight into the game. So the region_test is a biome that only exists within the game archives, and excuse me, the biome allows for the spawning of test wood. So test wood is something that I've talked about previously with the different types of wood, and I've mentioned it in passing, if not a little bit more than simply in passing. But test wood is another type of feature that was added, which Defaultio used as a reference and as it's like a general idea of trees when he first started making trees, and he used these as kind of to serve as the groundwork and the foundation for how trees should look in this game, how they should grow, etc., how they should die once they're finished growing. So he used that test tree, but this biome only contains test trees and allows for the spawning of those. And the test tree is a tree used for the construction of pine and fir. So yes, more than just simply all trees, specifically for pine and fir trees where the test tree was used to help design. And it's most likely derived from the oak tree. That is the test wood was. The second feature that was unadded, or rather the 8th in this series, is the gold axe. The gold axe is something I've also touched on briefly, but to dive into it even deeper, it's the best axe in Lumber Tycoon 2, and only Defaultio can use it. The axe deals 50 damage to any tree, which means it's equivalent to the mini axe chopping like 3, 4, 5 times in one single chop. How overpowered is that? So obviously this was used in the beginning. Defaultio used it to make things easier, and people helping Defaultio make this game to make this easier to create this game, to go about things and whatnot. So due to exploiters, though, managing to obtain this axe, Defaultio removed it from the game. So it was in the game, but only in the files, and only hackers and exploiters could obtain it. So, and Defaultio also likewise banned the people who gained access to this axe. So despite it never actually being on sale, the price of the gold axe, weirdly enough, was $60 or in-game currency. So I was right, yeah, 5 chops of the mini axe is equivalent to 1 chop of the gold axe. So only a few users were allowed access to this gold axe, including Defaultio, of course, who created it. It's obviously supplement all of these things with pictures on the screen. So this is a pre-alpha axe, and it was able to be obtained next to the Woods R Us, next to the stone axe. So it was in the game. I apologize for just a tiny bit during the public testing of the game, but it was removed from the store, and automatically is deleted whenever the server initializes. So people hacked into the game. Defaultio removed it. It used to be in the store next to the stone axe. It's very overpowered, but it's removed for the reason of it being overpowered. The next feature is the lumberman. So the lumberman is an NPC that only exists within the game files once again, and you probably know the lumberman as being the face of Lumber Tycoon. Whenever you look at Lumber Tycoon 2 and see the man on the home screen of it, that is the lumberman. You know him for his lumber, red lumber shirt and whatnot, and he's inaccessible because he's just simply in the files. And he has dialogues, but they're unable to be accessed as well. He was never assigned to a store or anything like that, so he's not really an NPC per se. He's just kind of the face of Lumber Tycoon, as we all have come to know him. So he's wearing that red flannel, as you all know. And of course, you know the picture. I'll post even more of it. And he also has a lumberman's axe, which is different than the hardened axe and the steel axe, which it looks very similar to those two, but it's different. And I'll touch more on the lumberman's axe in the next video of this series. So that's the lumberman NPC, but not really an NPC. Hope that makes sense. Next one is axe boxes. This one's not really a feature, but it's more of a I suppose it is a feature. So it refers to the axe boxes and how the axes work. So boxes must exist for the axes to actually work properly, because they're not going to be able to. All axes have to have a box from which they can be removed, and but some boxes are not able to be obtained legitimately through normal means, and they only exist within the game files. You probably know the most famous one axe not having a box for it is the many axe. That this was able to be obtained through an event many years ago, but this does not have a box in itself. So when people hack it into the game, it used to say, or it still says, I cheated for this box. Sorry, not the many axe. Let me clarify. The n times axe. The n times axe. So the n times axe is obtained the same way through the rookery axe. On Halloween, you can use the same methods of obtaining the rookery axe, and instead of the rookery axe coming down from that little hole in the ceiling, the n times axe will appear. And a couple other axes that are not legitimately, or don't have a box in themselves, like this, say I cheated for this box, or something of the sort on the box itself, indicating that you hacked it into the game. You exploited it into the game. That it doesn't have a box, but it needs to have a box for it to function properly. Therefore, it has one in the files. But Defaultio wrote that on the box to show to others that, hey, I cheated for this box. Like I bought it off of someone else who cheated for it, or hacked it into the game myself. So just a little interesting feature about the boxes and how some of them don't have boxes themselves, these axes I mean, but people can still obtain them, and Defaultio wants to make it clear to everyone that you are hacking when you try to obtain them illegitimately. The next feature, the second to last, is the figure. This is another NPC type figure. I want to actually go to the direction of where it is. I was already there. But this is an NPC next to the cabin. It's called figure, and it would be removed automatically whenever the server was initialized, or whenever it was started. A lot of these things kind of delete whenever the server is initialized, but they're there for a split second because it shows leftover features that Defaultio never are actually removed from the game. So this NPC is different from the others, having similar to the lumberman. It's different. It doesn't have really a interaction ability. It does, but it's not really in the game, and it's of course not there next to the cabin. It's only there when the server just begins, so you're not going to be able to see it unless you like pause the game and go over there, which is difficult to do. So I'll post pictures of course on the screen, but it appeared around this area next to the winter cabin, and doesn't really have much of a dialogue, but if you do go up to it, and the dialogue, I mean, the dialogue only consists of saying, he asks you to buy this thing, or he, she, it, whatever, asks you to buy this thing, question mark, and can I even get out of here now? Hopefully I can. Yeah, he says buy this thing, question mark, and if the player says okay, he will say too bad. If you say yes, or if you say yes, he will say too bad, or you can say goodbye, which is the equivalent of no, and of not accepting his offer. Whatever that is, it doesn't really work. Doesn't do anything if you accept it. So it's just a feature that many people believe to have been a scale model for the cabin, to see how big should this cabin be, and compare it in comparison to the actual player size of the player. So not much known about that in the files, of course, not in the game, unused, removed from the game in a sense. The last one is actually pretty interesting, more interesting I think than the rest of these in this video, is the unused snow globe bin. So I just left that area, but you guys know what the snow globe bin is. It's that thing next to on the side of the cabin. You can place wood into it, and it'll light the furnace or the fireplace inside. Additionally, there is a snow globe bin underneath Woods R Us. I can't actually zoom out anymore into the map, or maybe I can. It's difficult to do if I even can. But there's also that same exact snow globe bin under here. It's unused, but there is a different snow globe bin actually in this game as well, and it still exists and can be accessed it really can't be accessed normally, but it's again in the files. So it is a larger version, in other words, without further ado, of the snow globe bin that we all see today, and all have come to know and love today. It is different in the sense that it is much larger. It is located under the Woods R Us. So the one that we see next to the cabin is one of the snow globe bins, but the one under Woods R Us, just to clarify, is this larger one that I was mentioning. So it's larger, it's located under Woods R Us. It doesn't work though because you can't obviously access it. It doesn't do anything. The inside of it is actually also larger. The floor is a little different, and it's only existent within the game archives, and it can only be seen within the workspace, which is, again, as I mentioned, like almost the creative mode of Lumber Tycoon 2. So this is a possibly unused version of that one, so maybe default to when he was creating that wood bin, or the wood box, I guess is the official name for it, he was thinking of a variety of different sizes for the wood bin, or the wood box, so he created this larger one. That's a potential, that's just me theorizing, but in any case, we could have seen a much different sized wood bin in this game. Another reason he might have changed it is if you fall into the wood bin next to the wood cabin, you're not going to be able to get out. But with this smaller one, since it's less profound, less deep, you can actually jump out of it if you so choose. So those are 6 more features that have been removed from this game, or never were added into this game, or only existent within the files, whatever you want to say. Of course, it's very cool features. Nonetheless, although they're not in the game, or they're in the game in some capacity, if that makes sense. So we talked about the unused snow globe bin, which is very cool. The figure next to the log cabin, or next to the used snow globe bin. The boxes of the axes, and how some of them don't actually have boxes themselves, but they technically do in the files. And the lumberman as well, which is another NPC like the figure, but not really. He just serves as the face of Lumber Tycoon 2. And we also talked about the gold axe, and how it's the most overpowered axe in the game, but it was banned shortly after its addition into this game. But it did actually exist within the game, so it was a removed feature, unlike the rest of them, which are not really existent or really unused features in a sense. And the last one, or rather the first one we talked about, is the region test, which is the biome for the test tree and test wood, which default to use as model for the pine wood and fir wood. But 6 more features we talked about in today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned something new, and stay tuned for episode 3 of this series, where we'll talk about the final 6 things, or really just 6 more things, topping off the series. 6 more things that have been removed or unadded, or only exist within the files of this game, that are unknown to the common player playing this game, yet are still interesting to know the history behind and how they have led to the game that we all know and love today in some capacity. So once again, hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video next week. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.